Are you ready to start this thing?
Let's go.
This is Should We Be Talking About This?
Hey.
I'm Rachel.
I'm Chance.
And this is episode 82. You got anything new this week? To talk about before our topics?
No. Nothing.
All right, well then let's just dive in. Do you want to go first or you want me to go first?
You go first.
Okay, so this week I'm doing the death of Viki Lozano. I got this topic from TikTok.
Okay. God, you love TikTok.
Listen, don't hate on it.
No, I'm not.
Start getting your topics from there. It was a TikTok user named Brooke Jessic. She does this really cool series of videos on TikToks called Is the Real Estate Worth the Hate? Where she goes to a real estate, like a house listing. And she scrolls through the pictures, like in the background.
Yeah.
You can see them behind her. And while she's scrolling through the pictures, she tells you about the horrendous crime that happened in the house.
Oh, wow.
So you can decide if buying the house is worth it.
Okay.
But she covered one that happened in Denton, Texas.
Hey.
And that's right near us.
Yeah, it's right
So
up
then
the road.
I had to look into it, and then I had to cover it.
Okay.
My other sources were an article written on the Texas District and County Attorneys Association. I felt very fancy reading from that website. There was an episode on Oxygen that I watched. I think it's called like Homicide or Suicide or something like that.
Yeah.
WFAA.com and NBC News.
Okay.
There's also a podcast called Criminal Discourse that I used as a source, and it is an awesome podcast. You should check it out. They have their shit together, so they write everything out and put it on their website, which you know I love. So I got a lot of stuff from what they actually wrote down about the case. I didn't actually listen to the podcast. But I've listened to them before, and they are amazing. I can't say enough about them. I feel like podcasts is a lot like trying to find something on Netflix.
Yeah.
You've caught up with all of your usual things, and you can never have enough content.
Right.
So if you're like that, you definitely need to check out Criminal Discourse. In fact, you can just shut this off and go listen to them cover this topic, because I promise you they're going to do a better job than me. Another thing that I wanted to talk about before I get into this story, it's kind of hokey. I've literally never said it on this podcast, and I've never said it to you.
Okay.
But when I'm doing research, I'm typically at home by myself.
Right.
And it always gets to a point during my research or when I'm done where I take a break and I talk out loud to the victim of the case or the victims of the case if they've passed.
Okay.
And I know how dumb that sounds because I don't know at all what happens after we die. I don't know if there is an afterlife, or if there is, if they can hear us. And if they can, I guarantee you they're not hanging out in my house on a Wednesday. So I don't know why I feel the need to do this. But I think I do it for myself. And I talk out loud because if I talk in my head, I'll lose my train of thought. So I just out loud say things like, I'm so sorry for what happened to you. I'm about to cover your story. I hope that I honor your story and it's not disrespectful in any way. You know, just stuff like that.
Say a little prayer for them.
I don't know that it's a prayer. Again, I don't know why I do it. It makes me feel better because
Well, there you go.
True crime is kind of an icky topic. We're basically exploiting the worst thing that ever happened to anybody for entertainment purposes. And that feels gross. The only thing I can say that's beneficial about it is people can learn from other people's stories.
Yeah.
So anyway, to go back, that makes me feel better about covering topics if I just speak out loud to them. I've done it, I don't know, this is episode 82, so dozens of times.
Probably.
Nothing's ever happened. I never expect anything to happen. I don't even know if I believe in spirits or ghosts or whatever. I did it today. So I'm standing in the kitchen. I'm saying my whole spiel, saying, hey, I'm going to cover your story tonight. I hope to honor you. I really don't want to be disrespectful in any way. I'm hoping that your story could maybe shed some light for anybody who's in maybe a similar experience or situation. And right as I said that, the whole house popped, like the pressure in the house changed. The whole house creaked and popped louder than I've ever heard it before. And the light from all the windows got really bright in the house really fast.
Really?
And what really happened was today's a really windy, cloudy day.
Uh-huh.
The wind blew like a huge gust of wind, and it moved the clouds so the sun came out. But the way it happened
Yeah.
made me freeze. I froze in the kitchen, and I looked around, and I was like, Viki? Like, I was so scared for a hot minute, and then I was like, all right, you're reading way too far into this. But I needed to say that because that was the first time anything weird has ever happened.
Cool.
This story involves Robert and Viki Lozano, like I said. Her real name is Virginia Farish, but she went by Viki. And this starts in the 80s in Denton, Texas. For those of you that don't know, Denton's outside of Dallas, and it's a fairly smallish town, especially in the 80s, wouldn't you say?
It's growing.
Yeah, it's definitely grown now. It's a college town.
Yeah, UNT.
UNT is the area. So Viki's 18. She just graduated high school, and she's described as really quiet and shy. And she meets this boy, Robert, who's 2 years older. He's 20, and he's very gregarious and outgoing. So, of course, she latches on to him, an older boy that's outgoing and showing attention to her.
Yeah.
They start dating, and 2 years later, when Robert is 22 and Viki's 20, they get married. 9 years into their marriage, Viki's father passes away, and her mother decides to take the money that he left in his life insurance, pool it with Viki and Robert, and the three of them are going to build this dream home.
Oh, okay.
And Viki's mom is going to live there as well. Her name was Anna. She was going to live there with them. So they build this house, and it's 5,000 square feet, which is enough room for Viki's mom to have like her own wing of the house.
Right, that's big.
Yeah, and it was only $500,000 back in the 90s, which pisses my shit off. Because Chance and I are actively trying to buy a house in literally what can only be described as the fuck you home buyer time.
Yeah.
I think it's on record for being the worst time to buy a home in the state of Texas. So, of course, that's when Chance and I get out there and try to buy one. And just as a blanket statement to anyone listening to this podcast from California, stop moving to Plano.
Yeah.
Why the fuck are y'all targeting Plano?
Mm-hmm.
We're just trying to keep our kids in the same school system. We have put offers on 4 different houses and been outbid by people from fucking California every single time.
It's ridiculous.
They're selling their 2-bedroom houses for $1 million.
I know it.
Coming here and throwing $700K at a $500K house.
Uh-huh.
Stop it. I mean, y'all can come. We want you in Texas, but just don't go to Plano. Okay, so back to the story. Viki and Robert now have this beautiful, huge house in Denton. The mom has her own wing. Viki is working as a 5th grade teacher.
Oh.
And Robert, why'd you make that noise? Do you hate teachers?
No, I just...
Hate children.
Yeah. Oh, man.
You would never want to be a 5th grade teacher?
No, and in 5th grade, that's when they've got to watch that video.
Vivian's watching that tomorrow.
I know, she told me.
It's the puberty video for anybody who doesn't know. I'm so excited to hear about it. Okay, stop.
Sorry.
Getting me off topic.
Continue.
So Viki is a 5th grade teacher, and Robert is quickly climbing the ranks at the Denton Police Department.
Okay.
In 2001, they have a baby boy named Monty, which I love that name.
That's a cool name.
I love it so very much. You know what it reminds me of? Do you remember Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers?
Uh-huh.
And they had
Monty was the cheese guy.
Yeah.
He was so obsessed with cheese.
And he had the mustache.
His mustache would go crazy.
Yeah. His real name was like Monterey Jack.
Yeah.
And he went by Monty. That's what I think about. Stop getting me off topic.
Sorry. Continue.
Okay. On July 6th, 2002, at 9:05 p.m., Robert Lozano calls 911 and tells the operator that he had just come home and found his wife Viki dead from a gunshot wound on their bed.
Okay.
The operator asked if he knew CPR, and he responded, "I'll start now. Let me put the baby down," referring to Monty, who is now 11 months old, so just shy of 1. Paramedics arrived 4 minutes later and reported to have met Robert at the door, who was currently holding Monty. They said he did not look frantic or disheveled, and he had no visible blood on him.
Wasn't he doing CPR?
That's what he said.
Uh-huh. Interesting.
When the paramedics reached Viki, they found that she was beyond life-saving measures. So they immediately just backed off in order to preserve the scene. And according to the statements given by those paramedics, Viki was lying on her back on the edge of the bed with her right foot hanging off. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Her skin was cold, and she was already showing signs of lividity on her foot that was hanging off the bed. And remember, that's the pooling of blood.
Right.
And based off of that information, paramedics said that they think that she had been dead for at least an hour to an hour and a half. Next to Viki on the bed was a gun cleaning kit that was left open with some newspaper and a 9mm Glock. The gun was covered in oil, and it was later determined that it was Robert's service weapon. Well, the news of Viki's death spread really quickly amongst the police station because the 911 operator knew Robert, knew Viki, and told pretty much everybody who told everyone else. And before you knew it, the entire house was crawling with cops that were on duty and off duty. So if it is a crime scene, it's already fucked.
It's fucked, yeah.
Because by this point, Robert was a detective, and he had been working for the Denton PD for over 17 years. So you can imagine all the functions he had brought Viki to and whatnot. Everybody
knew.
Yeah. And normally in a situation like this, the entire house would have been cleared and roped off, and so a forensic team could come in and process it. But what they ended up doing was just roping off the bedroom where Viki's body was.
That's so crazy to me that they wouldn't rope off the whole house.
Well, I think that people were just so stricken with sadness and panic that their first thought was just to get to Robert.
Comfort.
Yeah, to comfort Robert. But if police respond to a person who's been killed by a gunshot wound, they have to process it like a crime scene no matter what. But I think that they were doing that just as a formality because they had to and not because they thought there was any foul play. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So they kind of did the bare minimum.
Yeah.
And I imagine it was really hard to walk the line of friend to Robert and police officer investigating a crime scene.
Yeah. That would be tough.
To make things even more fucked up, Robert was actually supposed to be on call that weekend and had called a coworker named Jeff Warrow to come cover his shifts because it was he and his wife's anniversary the day before. So if he was on duty like he should have been, it would have been him responding to this call.
Right.
I mean, not obviously of his wife's, but instead it was a good friend and coworker.
Yeah.
So like I said, Jeff Warrow is assigned as lead detective, and Robert tells him that he had gotten out his equipment to clean his 9mm because the following day, Sunday, he wanted to go to the gun range, so he wanted to make sure his gun was clean.
Mm-hmm.
But right before he started cleaning it, he told Viki, I think I need to run to the tanning salon, because by this time it was like 8:30 at night. And he said he didn't want to get gun oil on him before he went and tanned, and they were going to be closing soon. And she said, go, and I'll clean your gun for you.
It takes can he not just do it when he gets, well, I guess if, never mind.
Well, he had told her, don't worry about it. I want you to just relax.
Yeah.
For me, I've seen you clean your gun. I would never touch your gun, but maybe she was comfortable with guns, and that's something that she did. Who knows?
Yeah.
But as a service weapon, that seems odd to me that I don't know.
He would let someone else handle it.
I'm speculating before it's even time to speculate. So he tells Warrow that he went and tanned, which took about 30 to 45 minutes total. And when he came back, that's when he found her on the bed. He said she was sitting upright. And he ran to her and knocked her down, saw that she had been shot, ran across the hall to Monty's room where he was asleep in his crib. He said that he jostled him, which woke him up, and so he picked him up and ran back in and called 911.
But you said when he went tanning, it took 30 to 45 minutes.
Yes. Are you thinking because the paramedic said she had been dead about an hour and a half?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's just one of the weird things.
Okay.
Keep collecting those in your brain over there. So the police did a horrible job preserving this scene. And again, I'm not trying to throw shade at them because this had to have been one of the most awkward,
that's tough,
most fucked up things in their entire careers. In that article written in the Texas Prosecutor, they listed all of the things that should have been done at the crime scene that wasn't. So I'm going to go through those really quickly. One of the things that wasn't done is they didn't search the rest of the house. Like I said, they just